Am I the a-hole for cleaning my horse's shaw boing and but she just went, "F you and your dumbass kids," and left?
I think I even cried a little, which caught me off guard because I'm not a crier usually.
So I basically flashed all those at the tables around us. And perhaps I was too harsh.
Am I the a-hole for naming my son the name I had always planned even after my brother and sister-in-law stole the name? My brother and his wife has as much right to name their child whatever they want. I do not own my name. I have no right to dictate to my brother what he names his kid. With that in mind, my husband's has a traditional family name that I love. Basically, since he and I were dating and started discussing our future, we agreed that our son would have that name. Oisin, my husband, is Irish. Not in the Boston, my great-great-great-grandfather came over in the 1800s kind of way. In the born in Galway kind of way. Neither my family or my sister-in-law have any other connection to Ireland. She got pregnant right around when I did, and her son was born 2 months before ours. They named my nephew Oisin Miguel. I did get upset or anything. When my son was born, we named him Oisin Daniel. Like I had told her we would be doing. She has flipped out that 2 cousins will have the same name. She is nuts because our family is Hispanic and half of our cousins are named Carlos or Camila. She is trying to insist we call him by his middle name or change his name. I told her to piss off. My mom is staying neutral, but she was very surprised that my brother gave his son an Irish name he knew I was planning on using. She expected him to name him for our late father. Anyways, my husband's family thinks the whole thing is hilarious. My family thinks my sister-in-law is a weirdo and she thinks I'm an asshole for copying her. Whatever. I'm posting here and sending her the link so she can see outside opinions.
Am I the a-hole for losing my shit over cookies when my dill tossed them out? I am a good baker. I enjoy making sweet treats for everyone to enjoy. My dill, Emily, is very health conscious, and even more so now that they have 2 kids. She is the type of person who avoids sugars, mostly eats organic, and avoids processed foods. When the grandkids visit, I usually make cookies or something sweet for them to enjoy. Every single time she sees them, she usually goes on about how they are unhealthy. We got into an argument about this a few months ago about not giving the kids junk. I pointed out everything is homemade and I am not only serving them cookies. My son stepped in on this and we compromised that the kids can have 1 cookie when they are here. This was good for a while until yesterday. The kids came over last night and I made a batch of cookies. They were cooling on the rack. Emily and my son decided to chat a bit before heading out. During that time, Emily went into the kitchen and threw away the cookies. When I asked her why she did it, she claimed I was doing me a favor since they are unhealthy. I yelled at her, saying that she had no right to throw away food that I had worked hard to make. She got defensive and said she was just trying to help. My son stepped in and told me to calm down, but I was furious. Emily left the room in tears, and now my son is saying I overreacted and should apologize. I told my son that I will not be babysitting until he handles this situation, and I will not apologize.
Am I the a-hole for what I said when my parents announced they were having another baby? My parents have 7 kids. There's me 16 male, Kayla 13 female, Robin 12 male, Sam 10 male, Lachi 8 female, Zoe 6 female, and Robbie 4 male. They only ever intended to have 2 kids, and even with me and Kayla alone, they'd still struggle. My parents don't have great jobs. We never had much space in our house to begin with, and now we're all crammed in. I started working at 13 to get money so I could pay for stuff I needed, like a laptop, which I didn't have access to when my school first shut down. We didn't even have internet then. My parents swore they were done with Robbie and they'd get us back on track, and that I wouldn't need to work just to pay for stuff I needed for school. The weight of being the oldest is already a lot, and I have paid for stuff before. I babysit so my parents can work nights or get a break. I take care of the house most days so they can focus on earning money. But it's a lot, and we're really too big of a family for what we can actually afford. My parents get help from the government, but it doesn't go far because they're not good with money or with buying groceries. When no baby came right after Robbie, I thought they were serious and I started to think about my future. I'd love to learn to cook better and work in a restaurant. Not college exactly because we could never afford it and my grades aren't good enough, but something. Then Monday, my parents sat us down and told us they're having another baby and mom is like 14 weeks pregnant. They knew for 7 weeks and didn't want to tell us until they were ready. My siblings were mostly surprised but me. I said not again. I think I even cried a little, which caught me off guard because I'm not a crier usually. This was apparently enough to break me though. My parents got so angry at me and told me to check my attitude. I told them they gave me this attitude by being so reckless and putting so much on me, and now they've broken their promise and we're going to struggle even more than before. They told me to stop acting like they're doing something to me, that accidents happen and they'd never abort, even if they could. They told me to focus on making things okay and less on being so negative. I know people say that having money isn't as important as long as you have a loving family, and maybe that's true for some people. But mine feel like a weight I have to carry and not something I'm blessed with. They're a responsibility on me, a burden really. And maybe that's awful to say, but it's how I really feel. I hate worrying about what'll happen if they can't afford the bills, or if my laptop breaks and I can't afford to fix it or get a new one. Or what if we can't afford food, or we can, but I have to pay for groceries instead of save ... Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole because I am intentionally not letting my neighbor in, causing her and her dog to sit outside in the dark? I live in an apartment block. To access the property after 8 p.m., you must carry your front door key with you. We were all told this prior to moving in. A tenant has moved in downstairs and she leaves the back door unlocked to allow herself to come and go without taking her key. She isn't supposed to do this, and she has been told multiple times to take her front door key in case the door locks, which she has ignored. She has started treating me like a literal doorman, knocking loudly on my windows and repeatedly buzzing my apartment to try to get me to open the door for her. It is daily and it riles up my dog every time, and it always occurs after 9 p.m. I have let her in twice in good faith, then told her the third time to take her key and that I will no longer be answering. She decided to go out with her dog this evening and again didn't bother to take her key when she started buzzing and knocking on my windows loudly. I shut off my buzzer, gave my dog a treat, and closed the doors, deciding to ignore her and continue watching my movie instead. This is where I could be the a-hole. It's dark out at the moment, late, and she's outside by herself with her dog. She's been out there for about 45 minutes. We also live in a shady area, not dangerous, but definitely not pleasant at night. She has been sat outside on the doorstep on her phone, angrily ranting about me to her friends, like I'm her dad. I don't know this woman aside from her treating me like a concierge. Am I the a-hole? Edit for update. I opened the door. I said I wouldn't, but quite frankly, I literally couldn't go to sleep knowing she and her dog were out there. I went downstairs and opened the door and told her that this was the last time and I will be reporting to management and calling the police if she knocks on my windows anymore. I'm gonna just hope that a few hours outside has got the message across. Sorry for everyone who told me not to give in, but it's nearing midnight here, and as much as she pisses me off, I'm not about to leave her out there.
Am I the a-hole for taking my clothes off at the Cheesecake Factory? So me, 23 female, and my boyfriend, 24 male, were celebrating our 1-year anniversary and went out to dinner to celebrate. My BF planned it as he knows how much I love the Cheesecake Factory. I really love their cheesecake. This becomes important later. Well, everything was going fine and we were having a good time until an elderly man at the next table scooted his chair out just as our server was approaching, causing him to stumble and spill hot coffee on me down my back. It was obviously burning and startled me, so I instinctively screamed and pulled my shirt up. I'm pretty small-chested, so I don't typically wear a bra, and obviously I wasn't thinking about that when something hot was running down my back burning me, so I basically flashed all those at the tables around us. Yes, I was embarrassed, but at the same time it's just boobs. I pulled my shirt back down right after realizing what happened, but it was up for about 15 seconds. The server apologized over and over, but it wasn't their fault, it was all just an accident. Well, anyway, after this, my boyfriend wanted to leave, like, immediately leave. He said that I was being overdramatic for the way I reacted in the situation, and maybe I was, but it did startle me really bad and it did burn. He told me I had put on a show for everyone in the restaurant, especially since I screamed when it happened, and that we need to leave. I told him it's not that big a deal and that I really want to stay to get cheesecake because it's my favorite. I eventually even offered to try to get some to go, and he was dead set that we need to leave and didn't understand why I wasn't mortified. We ended up staying, but for the rest of the date, he kept saying that the men at tables near us were staring at me and probably thinking about me inappropriately. But I said it wasn't my problem if they're being gross. When we got in the car, he told me I ruined our anniversary for making him sit through that and we should have just left, and that he can't believe I would choose a piece of cheesecake over his comfortability. We argued in the car the whole way home about it, and now we haven't spoken at all today. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to cancel his bros-only trip to help me with our newborn after he promised he would? This situation has caused a lot of tension between my husband and me, and now I'm questioning whether I'm being unreasonable. I, 30 female, gave birth to our first child, Olivia, 2 months ago. Being a first-time mom has been both beautiful and overwhelming. My husband, Jake, 32 male, was incredibly supportive during the pregnancy and promised that after Olivia was born, he would be there for me every step of the way, especially during those challenging first few months. Before Olivia was born, Jake and his friends had been planning a bros-only trip for this summer, a week-long vacation to a cabin in the mountains for hiking, fishing, and bonding. When the trip was being discussed, I reminded Jake that Olivia would only be a few months old, and we would be deep in the newborn phase. He reassured me that if things got too tough, he would cancel the trip to help me out, and I trusted him. Now that Olivia is here, things have been harder than I anticipated. Between the sleepless nights, breastfeeding struggles, and just trying to adjust to motherhood, I've been feeling overwhelmed. Jake has been helpful, but I can tell he's excited about this trip, which is coming up next month. Last week, I asked Jake if he could consider canceling the trip, reminding him of his promise. I told him that I'm struggling and that having him gone for a whole week would be really tough on me. He seemed surprised and a bit hurt that I was asking him to cancel. He said he's been looking forward to this trip for months and that he needs a break too. He also pointed out that his parents live nearby and could help if I needed support while he was away. I understand that Jake needs a break and wants to spend time with his friends, but I can't help feeling like this is a time when I really need him by my side. I tried to explain that while I appreciate his parents' help, it's not the same as having him here. Jake said that I'm being unfair by asking him to cancel the trip after all the planning that went into it, and that I need to trust him to make sure I'm supported even if he's not physically there. Now, we're at a bit of a standoff. Some of my friends think I should let him go, saying that it's important for him to have some time away, especially after all the stress of becoming a new dad. But others agree that it's too soon for him to take off for a week, and that he should prioritize being home with me and Olivia. So am I the a-hole for asking my husband to cancel his bros-only trip to help me with our newborn after he promised he would? Edit. Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a quick update after reading through most of the replies. I was honestly overwhelmed by the amount of support and understanding I received. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to respond. Your kind words and thoughtful advice really helped me feel less alone in this situation. A lot of you suggested that I should also take a week off, letting Jake stay with Olivia, to get a break for myself. I really appreciate the sentiment behind that suggestion, but there are a couple of reasons why it's not realistic for me right now. First of all, I'm breastfeeding, so being away from Olivia for that long would be really difficult logistically. But beyond that, and this is something I know I need to work on, I just don't feel comfortable being away from my baby yet. I know it's not healthy to feel like I can't have her out of my sight, but I can't help it. I guess it's just that new mom anxiety that's really hard to shake. I've been debating whether or not to show Jake this thread. I'm worried that reading it might hurt his feelings, but I'm definitely going to have another conversation with him about everything. I'm willing to compromise and let him go on the trip, but I think a whole week is just too much. I'm leaning towards suggesting that he limit the trip to a maximum of 3 nights, so he can still have some time away with his friends but not be gone for an entire week. I'll update again after we've talked. Thanks again for all the support, everyone. It really means a lot to me. Also, I'm new to Reddit, not sure if I should be posting updates or just editing this post. Update. Hey everyone, I just wanted to share another update after having a very long and emotional talk with Jake. I won't get into every detail of our conversation, but I'll touch on the most important points. After putting Olivia to bed, I went straight to bed myself, feeling utterly exhausted. Jake was already asleep, but for some reason, the weight of everything just hit me all at once, and I started crying uncontrollably. My sobbing woke Jake up, and he immediately asked me what was wrong. I told him that I was just tired, but then I opened up about how anxious I'd been feeling about his trip and being left alone with Olivia. I admitted something I've been reluctant to say out loud, that Jake hasn't been as involved as I thought he would be. This was one of my biggest fears when we found out we were having a baby. For context, Jake has a rocky relationship with his own dad. I won't go into detail about why his dad isn't the best, but his mom, my mother-in-law, were married when Jake was in middle school, and his dad wasn't very present in his life. Jake has expressed to me before that becoming a father was scary for him because he's afraid of being a bad one, just like his dad. When he first told me that, I thought it would make him into a great father, because it showed how much he cared about being a good dad long before we were even pregnant. When I vented to him about all of this, at first, he tried to defend himself. He admitted that he's been freaking out about having a baby for so long and just didn't want to tell me. He said he didn't want to stress me out while I was pregnant because he knows how much I've always wanted to be a mother. Hearing him say that made me feel guilty, like I hadn't seen how much he's been struggling internally. I had tried to convince him that he was going to be a great dad when we had this conversation long ago, and now it all felt more complicated. I thought to myself, this can't go on much longer. I realized that if he was going to keep pulling away like this, I didn't know if I could handle it. So I asked him, is this what our life is going to look like from now on? Me with Olivia and you away? Because if it is, Jake, then I don't think I can continue on like this. Jake told me to calm down and assured me that he wasn't going anywhere. Then he got really emotional. He even started to tear up. He said he didn't want to turn into his dad, and that he hadn't realized that going on this trip could be a preliminary step toward becoming the absentee father he feared he might be. He apologized for not considering me and Olivia as much as he should have. Long story short, Jake called his friends and told them he wouldn't be able to make the trip. He's even started planning a little family getaway for the 3 of us next year when Olivia is a bit older. It was a tough conversation, but I feel like we're on the same page now, and I'm hopeful that things will get better from here. Thanks again to everyone for your support and advice. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but I'm grateful for this community helping me navigate it. Am I the a-hole for cleaning my horse's shaw boing in front of my friend? I'm going to be reducing this post to the basics and hope it dies down because I'm sick of people sexualizing my horse. I 23 female have a horse. My friend 23 male was at the stables with me. I noticed my horse's sheath was getting bad, so I decided to clean it. I didn't warn my friend and he was freaked out. Since then, he has ignored me. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister-in-law babysit my baby and being unwilling to hear her out? My husband and I had to be somewhere for our older child, so we asked my mother-in-law if she could watch our 3-month-old son for a few hours. She said of course. Unfortunately, when we went to drop him off, she wasn't home and one of my husband's sisters, Jane 21, was instead. Apparently, my mother-in-law wasn't going to be home for a bit, so Jane agreed to watch our son for some time. I immediately said no because, well, Jane believes that babies don't feel anything. She thinks that they cry for no reason and we shouldn't respond to their cries ever for whatever reason, and that not responding won't have any effect on them. She thinks that anything we do to babies during this period of their lives will have absolutely zero effect on them in the future. She will often call them mindless too. My husband called his mom and we politely explained our concerns and then hung up because we were extremely busy already and now he had to find another babysitter as well. I figured that was it until Jane came over extremely upset and in tears insisting that she's not a bad person and that she would never do anything to hurt any kid. She then accused me of discriminating against her because she doesn't want or have kids like everyone else in the family. I told her straight up that I don't give a damn if she wants kids of her own, but I don't like her thoughts on how to care for babies specifically. Instead of trying to understand me, she doubled down and said that her way of dealing with babies makes sense and that I'm wrong and I'm just extremely sensitive in nature, so of course I don't get it. She kept arguing with me about how to take care of my baby, so I just asked her to leave and she blew up on me. My husband even told her to calm down and that it's not like we're preventing her from seeing our kids all together, but she just went "fuck you and your dumbass kids" and left. Which, okay, but my mother-in-law is really annoyed with me because Jane is still very upset and I'm just wondering if I'm the a-hole. Like, I don't think I am, especially since no one lets her babysit for the same reasons, but I'm the first person to actually say no to her face and tell her why instead of making up an excuse. And perhaps I was too harsh.